Hello, everyone. This is Misha Houston. We are live. I want to give a shout out to Cammie. Thank you, Cammie, for joining our chat. And we are here and ready to do our discussion for Catelyn 4. It's when she arrives in King's Landing. Jennifer, you want to do your intro?
Yes. Okay. Hey, y'all. I'm Jennifer, Lady Wolverton. Everybody just calls me Jen. All right, let's get started with this Catelyn chapter. Not very action filled, but information filled. Information filled.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And my name is Misha Houston. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you want to check me out on Facebook under Misha Houston. Check me out on Instagram under Misha_Houston. Check me out on YouTube as Misha Houston, and check me out on the Capcom Fighters Network under Misha 3700. We have a discussion tonight for Catelyn 4. And I want to first apologize for not being able to join the live stream yesterday as planned. Honestly, I was wide awake, but I was so busy doing other things that I completely and totally forgot about it until 5 o'clock a.m. the next morning. It finally hit me that I had missed the live stream. So here we are on Friday, and we are going to go back and get back in stride for Thursday, next week, Thursday.
Okay, that's okay. I didn't feel that great, and I wanted to watch that Tanya Hardy interview. I'll admit that's what I was doing. Hey, Cammie. Yeah, I watched that Tanya Hardy Truth or whatever it was, that interview with her answering questions. All right. So we have Catelyn. She's coming up to King's Landing, her and Sir Roderick. And we start out the chapter with them, coming upon the city. And the captain, the Tyroshi captain, Captain Mario Tomidis. Is that right?
Who? Mario. Mario.
Mario?
Yeah, Mario, the sea captain.
Mario. Tomidis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Lady Catelyn says she is going to give all the oarsmen a silver stag for getting them there so fast. And they're on the Storm Dancer. And Catelyn is pleased that they get there so fast. Sir Roderick has been so sick during their time at sea that he has shaved his whiskers off.
Mm-hmm. And may I say something before you?
Please do.
When a man does that, a change is about to occur. A man would never, change his facial features, unless something, real is about to go down. So that's a sign. When a man changes his hair or his facial features or something like that, his facial hair, a big change is coming. A change is coming within him, and a change is coming all around. It's just a sign.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. Also, when a woman cuts her hair, if you need an example of this, just look at Britney Spears' meltdown.
Yeah, when
she cuts her hair, stops going down.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when winter is coming, where you need to kind of keep your hair long. For him to shave his head and his hair is something, something big,
All righty. And as they're coming into King's Landing, Sir Roderick is like, when I was sick, I was laying around thinking, and I ought to go myself into King's Landing and see Sir Aaron Santagar, who is the king's master at arms, and ask him if he recognizes this blade. Also, when they're coming into King's Landing, she thinks about Aegon's conquest and how 300 years ago on the North Shore, where they're coming up to, it was nothing but a few fishermen and forest.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also before they leave the ship, she pays the silver stag to all the oarsmen herself, because it notes in here that the Tarash are, known to be greedy. So I guess she's worried the captain has, gallantly offered to hold on to their money for them. But both her and Sir Roger was like, they did the work. It doesn't matter to us what they spend the money on, because the captain's thing for holding the money is like, oh, it won't make it home to their families, and they might spend it on drink or whoring. And Sir Roger is all like, there's worse things to spend money on. And Catelyn's like, I'll just give it to them myself to make sure they get it. And they want to stay at an inn that's a little bit out of the way, but clean. And so they go to a place in Eel Alley. And when I was thinking in my mind, like, I wonder, how much of a tip that is, like a silver. I think that guy at the Rast, I was talking about, I used to get 7 silvers for killing somebody. So for 6 more, she could have got somebody assassinated. And
well, I mean, yeah, but this is like,
I'm like thinking, how much money is that? Is that, a large sum, or what is that? So, but that's just what popped into my head. And then also Eel Alley. So they're staying at an old inn on Eel Alley. You remember all these places: Gin Alley, the Street of Steel, the Street of Flower. They're over there on Eel Alley.
It just sounds like a low part bad of town.
Yeah.
Like somewhere where she can, chill and sleep and rest, and somewhere where they think they won't, find her.
Right, exactly. Nobody would be looking for her either, And Sir Roderick goes as far as to say, look, stay away from the common room. I know it's been a long time since you think anybody's seen you, and they have a little discussion about Baelish. And she thinks about how he got his nickname of Littlefinger. It was her brother who gave him that nickname. And she thinks about that. She thinks about how it's been that she always knew he would rise high because he was always very clever, and how she does wonder about him.
And she wonders if if I can skip ahead just a little, she wonders about him a lot. In every chapter that she's in, without the exception of the last chapter, she thinks a lot about Peter Baelish. She thinks about him in this chapter as a child, and she thinks about him growing up through the other chapters, and she thinks about the duel that she thought about here, and she thinks a lot about Baelish. She kind of goes numb thinking about him. She goes off into space when she thinks about him. I mean, I think she keeps him at a distance, but in her mind, he's much closer to her than it is in actuality. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, she thinks about him, but she don't tell him that she's thinking about him.
Yeah, I think they remember their relationship very differently. Forgive me, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, it's no problem. It's no problem. Yeah, I mean,
but I think they have different memories there.
Yeah, she's got a whole lot of mixed feelings about him. She likes him one minute, then she doesn't, and it's just a big jumble for her. And I think the reason that she's so comfortable with Ned is because the feeling for him is very singular. Right. She sees him as a very good man, strong, solid, type of person, and she's pleased with that, and is pleased that she's chosen him for her husband. But I think there's a part of her that wonders about what Peter would mean to her if they were married, and if they had time together, and she didn't reject him as she did. She always thinks about that. She thinks more of him than she thinks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just
Peter
Baelish,
Yeah, I know you. I know how you are about him. Yeah, but she really does, and I think one of the reasons is she associates him to a simpler time in her life. when there was still, I don't want to say possibility necessarily, but I think, when she thinks of a different kind of life, a different kind of person than she is now, when things were simpler, she thinks back to that time. And of course, he played a big role in that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's a very powerful person, a very powerful figure in her life, even though she'll never admit it.
Right.
Keep him. I think she partly keeps him at a distance because she fears the power that he has over her. She had. It's just she had to keep him there. She had to keep him away. She had not to read the letter. She just had to keep him away. Because I think she thinks that if he got too close, he may take over.
Right. Okay, so they get to this and they check in. They get their stuff up to the suite or their set of rooms or whatever. And so Roderick's like, okay, my lady, you rest. And I'm going to go, try to get up with Sir Aaron. And I'll be back before dark. Well, she goes in. She realizes she is tired, more tired than she let herself admit. And she wakes up to somebody banging at the door, which I hate. I hate that. Don't knock on my door like you're the police, okay?
Yeah, I don't do it. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't like that. I don't like it either.
I don't either. I agree with you. My dogs start barking, knock on my door lightly. Don't come over here like you're the DEA. Just, you barely got a knock. All right. So, but basically, somebody comes and knocks on her door like they're the DEA. And they're like, open in the name of the king and all this. And she's just like, oh, shit. When that wakes you up, when somebody wakes you up like that, you're kind of startled. You're a bit pissy, too, knowing from experience. And she called out a moment, let me dress, let me get myself together. And she opens the door and she realizes it's not Sir Roderick. He's cool. It's not the king. The guy said, my Lord Littlefinger said only to bring you to him and to see that you were not mistreated. So she's like, okay, well, wait outside while I get myself together. And she's like, no, they couldn't know at the castle because if they did know, Ned would have come. No way he would have stayed behind. And I would definitely agree with that because we saw, how much it was really important to him to try to get to Arya before the king's men got to her. So same situation kind of going down in that, in that instance. And then she thinks to herself, how did he know? And then she's like, that damn ship captain, and she's thinking snitch. Is what she's thinking. And then she thinks to herself, well, I hope he got a nice, price for this information. And she's annoyed. She's not really mad. She's just kind of pissy, very pissy. Oh, woke her up. Bad way to wake somebody up. Bad way to wake somebody up. Okay. So by the time she gets out, she gets herself dressed. She's going to meet who she thinks is Littlefinger. They had a horse war. By this time, it's getting dark outside. They're lighting the lights out on the street. And when Kat gets to where Littlefinger is, she's pissed. She's like, why have I been brought here? And then immediately he's like, leave us. And he's all like, oh, your hands. I'll try doing that. And, Catelyn's not having it. She's just like, I'm not accustomed to being summoned, basically. And,
yeah, she never lets Littlefinger know, or rather forget that she is above him.
No, never.
She always, made sure to let him know that, guess what, I'm a lady and you're nothing.
Good call. For all a lot, especially the Starks, try to act like they don't act haughty or whatever. They do. In their own way. They've definitely got it in the back of their mind that they're high lords and ladies. And they don't let people forget it.
But I do really like how her southern upbringing and her southern thinking starts to kick in. She starts asking questions. She's asking, why have I been brought here? How would they know about this? How would they know about the dagger? How would they know about Bran? How would they... she's constantly questioning now when she didn't question things before.
I know she's not a Stark Alicia by injection only, but she's been up there living with them or whatever, and I think she kind of acts like them to an extent till she gets out of their area, so to speak. You see her behavior change quite a bit when she makes this trip and when she's in the Vale. And when she's elsewhere aside from the North, when the picture we get, in my opinion, that we get painted of Catelyn is a much more humble picture. And then we really see her start to come out of that when she gets out of the North. She kind of reverts back to some of those Southern ways, most definitely.
Oh yeah, it's her heritage, it's her upbringing, and plus she grew up with Littlefinger. So she would know, how to think like him. She would know him. She would. She has observed him over the years. She grew up with him. She knows his story. She knows how clever he is.
And that's one of the things she internalizes is just questioning how he is now. She's curious. I'm not, she's very curious to see what he's really like.
Yeah, I mean,
see how he turned out, kind of.
Oh yeah, she's very curious about him and everything going on around here. Alicia says that the Northmen are proud. Catelyn and most Southerners are arrogant. There's a difference.
I agree with that. I do. I just, I think she kind of reins it in a little bit. Well, I think she would have. I don't know. I think she lets her surroundings affect her. Is, I guess, what I mean to say. And she should be on guard in King's Landing. It's dangerous.
Go ahead, Jennifer, with the story.
That's true. Overview? That's true. 100% true. So immediately Baelish says that the reason he knows that she's in the city is because of Varys. And I think that's interesting because I don't think that's true. I don't think that's necessarily true either. I think that's just a convenient thing for him to say.
Oh no, he knew. I mean, him and Varys, have a lot of connections to each other.
Right.
So whatever Varys knows, Littlefinger probably knows it as well. And and was just waiting for her to get there pretty much. He's got spies all over the place too, just like Varys, but he's not really known for it. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, Varys is known for his spy work, but Littlefinger is known for other things, but he does have the spy network as well. A lot of them. And Grand Maester Pycelle has the spy network as well. And so does the Queen. Everyone has spies. Yeah. It's a good thing to have. It's a shame Ned didn't
employ a few.
In his service. It's a shame, but that's just not his way.
Yeah, that's not his style. He never would, he would have think that is below him or really just dishonest, a type of dishonesty, I believe. So, so Varys does pop up. So obviously Varys and Baelish have, sometimes we see them share information and kind of come together, and sometimes we see them at odds with each other. This is an instance where they've come together. Varys already knows about Bran. He says something about, help having somebody sent to help cure him. And Catelyn is quick to say, no. We don't need any help. We got it. We got Maester Luwin up there. He's doing everything she can. Also showing, I think, just a little bit how, she really, the Maesters, if you have one you really like, you put a great amount of trust and, what's the word I'm looking for? Trust and she believes Maester Luwin is doing all he can and nobody else can probably do better. A lot of confidence in his ability.
But yes, of course. He's delivered five of her children.
Right.
So of course she would trust him, But she also said in the chapter that she only trusted Littlefinger a little bit, and Varys not at all. So she already kind of had her guard up around the two of them, and she said that she would not show her grief to them. She would not,
Right.
she
Proud.
would keep
That's being
her.
very, she's being proud, very proud. That
Yeah, and
um Alicia says Ned needed someone like Mage Mormont or Howland Reed as his chief advisor in the South. I liked
mhm,
Jory, but he was not an outside the box thinker. Major
mhm,
Howland would have counseled him better.
mhm.
I agree. As well. I also think it has something to do with the position Jory had. Maybe he needed somebody who was a little bit higher in birth, who didn't feel like he was stepping on people's toes to even possibly imagine that they were being dishonest or, maybe not serving him the best.
Mhm. Uh, there was one more point that I had wanted to bring up, and this is in regards to Bran, the former Bran chapter. Bran, saw a vision in his dreams of Catelyn on the boat, observing the dagger, and what's his name? Her Sir Roderick vomiting over the side of the rail. So apparently, it really confirms that what he's dreaming about, even in his unconscious state, has truth in it. So I think that that Bran chapter was a good window into the future chapters with John and with Danny and her her travels with the Dothraki and Catelyn sailing off to King's Landing. So you gotta give keep eyes on Bran. Bran, can be a good conduit for the premonitions and the future visions and what may happen in the future. So for all of the readers that are just reading, keep eyes on Bran. Bran
Absolutely.
is the window
You have
into
to
the
keep your eyes
future.
on so many things, I
Yeah.
think. People that have visions, the prophecies,
Mhm.
um, things in italics.
Mhm.
Um, there's so many things. You really can't read too much. Of
Mhm.
course, I'm a big proponent of reading, so that's probably me. Um, so it's Varys, Baelish, and Caitlin, and they're talking about the knife, and she wants to know whose knife it is. That's the big question. She thinks, and I think this is very kind of short sighted of her to think that just if she learns the owner of the dagger, she'll know who perpetrated this attack.
Mhm.
Um, because that doesn't mean anything. This dagger could have passed hands half 100 times. And
Mhm.
I've always thought that was really short sighted. Just that if she thinks, well, not that she does need to know who owned the dagger, but don't
Mhm.
stop there.
Yeah.
It could have been given away, could have been lost in a wager.
Mhm. And
So many things. I think that's short sighted of her to stop. Like, that's the end of it. Like,
yeah,
I,
yeah, I agree with you. And as far as the chapter, I thought it was a strange place to stop the chapter in and of itself. Why would they stop it right there? I just expected a little bit more information in regards to that dagger. They ended the chapter right there with Littlefinger's answer. He said it was mine, and I lost the dagger to Tyrion Lannister, and that's where it stopped. I just expected Catelyn to question that a little bit more. You're absolutely right, and she did not question it. She
mm-mm.
just
She
assumed,
did. I
even.
mean, she very much takes everybody's explanation as
Mhm.
given and runs wild with it.
Oh
And
yeah,
I just think that's, the whole situation is very shady, very cunning, very convoluted. That for her to, you know, even she talks about how Peter is very cunning, and she knew he'd rise high because he was very clever. And for her to just almost take everything he says, as gospel. It's like I never have understood, and I guess it's just her prejudice to latch on to one of the Lannisters being the perpetrator of this is so great that it overshadows her reason. I guess we could say. And I hate that. I think that's one of her biggest faults right there, is that she's letting her hate and her anger and her prejudice towards the Lannisters shadow her reasoning.
But it's even worse that she's right to be prejudiced against the Lannisters.
I mean, she is, but they're not the only evildoer. They're not the only bad people. And I think she's thinking, her and Ned both do this. Sometimes they put too much trust in the wrong person. Everybody does it. Everybody in the book does it. Basically, you put too much trust in the wrong person. There's a quote from Margaret of Austria, who Anne Boleyn spent a lot of time being educated at her court before she went back to England when she was younger. And she says, her quote is, if you go with somebody who offers you service, you will find yourself being done wrong. Because, just because somebody offers to do things for you, it doesn't mean that they have good intentions. It doesn't mean that they're being kind towards you.
Oh, yeah. Especially in regards to Littlefinger. I mean, she said that every time he did something wrong as a child, he had this contrite look on his face. But it was just a look. And I've looked up the word contrite, and it says filled with a sense of guilt and a desire for atonement.
Right.
He looks contrite, but is he contrite?
But we know him that he's a master manipulator.
Yeah, and she even takes notes of that as well.
It's easy to say you're sorry and to act like you're sorry, but that doesn't mean that you really are sorry. A lot of people just can put, I always love to use this term. People put on so well.
Yeah, and she's trying to put on a false front, but I think they can all see through her. And it was pretty easy thing, to manipulate her. I mean,
it was. They manipulated her rather easily. It didn't take much.
No, it
didn't. It really didn't take much, and that's what. Okay, so she's concerned. She's like, "What have you done with Sir Roderick?" And he's like, Varys informs her that nothing's been done with him. Tells him everything. Varys tells her everything that Sir Roderick did. So he was spying on them from the start, as was, I'm sure, Baelish. Baelish, I think, had plans to summon her and do what he did before she even docked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he had it all set up. He had it sewn up. He know what to do.
I think he was a bit excited to see her, because we know his feelings for Catelyn, though they are a bit murky. We know that he does consider her, things that I know for sure. Peter Baelish does consider her to be his first love, and at this point, maybe the only person he has ever loved.
Yeah.
But he also knows that got him into great misfortune. But it also made him have the realization, I'm never going to be a warrior type like Brandon Stark. So he started to cultivate perhaps his other gifts.
Yeah. But let me say this one thing, and this is where I kind of have to just slightly disagree with you on the warrior aspect. Yes, he lost that duel, and he suffered a great scar across his chest, which is one thing I had wanted to see before they killed him off, but whatever. And but the way that he threw that dagger at the door, that shows me that he has learned a little bit about swordplay.
He has.
About throwing a knife. I mean,
good catch. Yeah, I took particular note of that as well. It says that he takes the dagger, flips it, and catches it in the other hand, and tests the grip.
You have to learn how to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't just flip knives around.
Right. Especially, you can't just flip a sharp, a deadly sharp blade around in your hand and have it land perfectly on your door. You have to train for that. So that makes me think that maybe sometime after that duel, after he healed up, he probably tried to teach himself or had someone else teach him how to work a knife. So he is not that little boy that got hurt. He's grown up. He's a man now. He's learned how to work a sword, and he's gotten a whole lot smarter and a
Either
whole
that or
lot
he's a hibachi chef. Like
or something. Yeah. So I mean, he's not, this little boy that she looks thinks he is. She looks at him and sees like a little brother. He's beyond that now. And I realized that when I reread that chapter and how dangerous he really is. He knows how to manipulate a situation. He knows how to work Catelyn, and now he knows how to work a knife.
Yeah, he
that.
does. He does. I took note of that as well. Good pointing that out. And we'll go over some of the finer points. I'm on the last page now.
Okay.
There was well, I'll go over that after we're done. So we get to the point, and she's like, "Careful, it's sharp." And Varys cuts himself. I think he did it on purpose. I mean, he would have had to have known that knife was sharp, and he makes a big show of sucking on his finger, getting the blood. And then he's like, "Well, I would have told you. There was only one knife like this in all of King's Landing." He grasped the blade between his thumb and forefinger, drew it back over his shoulder, threw it across the room with a practiced flick of his wrist. It struck the door and buried itself deep into the oak, quivering. So there was some force behind that throw as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's mine. Yours. It made no sense. Peter had not been at Winterfell. Until the tourney on Prince Joffrey's name day, I backed Sir Jaime. Okay, I got suspicious of this immediately, though. He backed Sir Jaime, because he's another person, even though he works kind of for the Lannisters, you could say, to an extent, being, on the Great Council. He's no Lannister lover, and I backed Sir Jaime in the jousting along with half the court. When Loras Tyrell unhorsed him, many of us became a trifle poor. So Jaime lost 100 golden dragons, the queen lost an emerald pendant, and I lost my knife. Her Grace got the emerald back, but the winner kept the rest. Who? Catelyn demanded, her mouth dry with fear, her fingers ached with remembered pain. The imp, Tyrion Lannister. And that's the end of our chapter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a word they talk about back here. I want to go over this because this is one of my favorite words. I covered something in college where we did this word in particular. Let me see if I can find it in the text. You go on, Misha, with anything you have.
Well, the one thing that I wanted to discuss with this was the Three Hills. Versin, they go a little bit into the Targaryen history.
Do. Good point.
Yeah, they go into the Three Hills and what everything is pretty much built upon. Visenia's Hill. I don't know. Let me go back. Excuse me, y'all. I'm not quite boned up on it, but I might have to go and reread it. But it was a point.
Yeah, that's fine.
It was
I
a good thing.
Pertinent. The fact that Aegon's conquest pops up into her mind. Like I said, not much action in this chapter, but information.
Mm-hmm,
and be looking out, everybody, for the Storm Dancer. And we know that in our story, Dancer is a synonym of fight, and so is Storm. So be looking out on that ship.
Mm-hmm. And there was another thing here. 100 quays lined the waterfront, and the harbor was crowded with ships. Deep water fishing boats and river runners came and went. Ferrymen poled back and forth across the Blackwater Rush. Trading galleys unloaded goods from Bravos and Pintos and Lice. Catelyn spied the Queen's ornate barge tied up beside a fat-bellied whaler from the port of Eden, its hull black with tar, while upriver a dozen golden warships rested in their cribs. Now, to me, that little section kind of reminds me of Cersei, which would be the golden ornate barge, next to the fat belly whaler. I mean, who does that remind you of? Robert Baratheon,
Definitely.
chained up together, and its hull black with tar, just like his hair, the black hair of
Yeah, that's
him.
no accident.
And then he says, upriver, a dozen lean golden warships rested in their cribs. That kind of reminds me of the three kids, of the three children, the golden warships resting in their cribs, her three children. That whole section kind of reminded me of Cersei and Robert Baratheon. This beautiful golden ornate barge tied up and chained next to this big fat belly whaler with
Definitely.
black hair, black tar. That kind of reminded me a little bit of Cersei and Robert and their marriage, and the kind of marriage that they had. A beautiful ship, supposedly beautiful ship, tied up to a fat bailing whaler type of ship. These two powerful ships to merge together, but they don't entirely fit together. There was another section that stood out. The three hills. Each part of the city is sitting on these three hills. Aegon's hill is sitting on top of, well, rather, the Red Keep is sitting on top of Aegon's hill, and then there's another hill, Visenia's hill, that is the foundation for the Sept of Baelor. And then there's another hill that's sitting on top of the King's Landing.
AU's in the chat. He says
Yeah.
hello.
Hey, you. Thank you for joining us in the chat.
Yes. Always nice to see you. Well, I'm looking for it, but they reference this particular word. It's one of my favorite words, but is it they're calling the Tyroshi? Is that where it's used? They're calling Captain Morio, or just the all Tyroshi in general, avarice, which means extremely greedy. Everyone, I love that word for some reason.
Yeah, the Tyroshi.
Yeah.
The Tyroshi, he kind of reminded me a little bit of Illyrio Mopatis, with the forked green beard. And maybe, if I didn't know any better, he probably could have been. He could have passed.
Could have.
For
wouldn't know.
Illyrio.
He wouldn't know any different. That's for sure.
Yeah. Who would know the difference about that? And then they go, also into the Targaryens, Aegor's conquest. Aegon the Conqueror, commanded that the castle be built, and Maegor the Cruel has seen it completed. And then afterwards, Maegor the Cruel had killed all of the stonemasons and the woodworkers and the builders for fear that the inner secrets of the castle would be found out. And I don't think there's anyone in the story that could really navigate their way throughout the whole of that castle. Maybe Varys, maybe him, but I don't think anyone else. There's so many places where a person could get lost, and so many hiding places. And I don't think that anyone, maybe with the exception of Varys, could navigate King's Landing and all of the catacombs and tunnels beneath it. I like the fact that they gone on into that, and then they also go into King's Landing itself and what the city is all about. It's a city of commerce and economy. It's an alive city, and everyone's working, everyone's doing something. There are manses and arbors and granaries and storehouses and merchants and taverns and graveyards and brothels. It's a city where everyone is doing something. It's a city alive with people working, and they also go a little bit about the dragon pit. Across the city on the hill from Rainey stood the blackened walls of the dragon pit. There isn't much mention of it, but they do mention it here in the Catelyn chapter. And they also talk about the Street of the Sisters, the big street that runs, from one hill to the next.
We get a good description of the city in this
Mm-hmm.
chapter,
Oh yeah.
from a different perspective, from a perspective of somebody not in the Red Keep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from an outsider looking in. And we see it all through Catelyn's eyes. And she hasn't really been in King's Landing in a very long time. And she, I think it's a really, really good chapter, for discussing the locations. You were first seeing King's Landing for the first time, and they really go very well and deeply into what the city looks like and what it feels like and what the people are like.
Mm-hmm. And also this part right here where they're like, is like Peter's explaining that he knows, he puts all his knowledge off on Varys coming to him first. And I don't believe that for a minute, but he's like, why you? And he's like, why not me? I sit on the king's council. I am the master of coin.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, does Varys know about, Lord Varys knows everything except why you are here. Why are you here? And she says, a wife is allowed to yearn for her husband. And if a mother needs her daughter's clothes, who can tell her no? And Littlefinger laughs and says, oh, very good, my lady, but please don't expect me to believe that. I know you too well. What are the Tully words again? Her throat was dry. Family, duty, honor. She recited stiffly. He did know her too well.
Mm-hmm.
Family, duty, honor, he echoed, all of which required you to remain at Winterfell, where our hand has left you. No, my lady, something has happened.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, he knows her very well. And because he knew her very, very well, he could easily navigate her.
Manipulate her. Yeah, definitely. And he does. He does. I can think it's safe to say Cat gets played.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, she gets played big time in this. And this is like the first domino to fall. And there will be other dominoes falling afterwards. A lot of people are going to get hurt because of Catelyn's actions. A lot of people are going to end up dead. I mean, the Riverlands. The Riverlands are going to suffer immensely because of Catelyn's actions. And all of this took place right here, with Varys on one side and Littlefinger on the other. And I mean, how could you not? Looking back and knowing what's going to happen later on, you can really tell that things are going to get bad from here on out.
Right.
Absolutely. A lot of people.
And I think that's rather interesting that out of all the hardest hit places, it's her home
Mm-hmm.
that is really kind of in really, really torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
More so than any other place.
Oh yeah, Alicia says, see, that's why I always say, I guess the Tullys forgot their house words. Fuck them Tullys, except black people. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is even though there isn't much action, it's just a lot of conversation, but it's some good conversation that needed to be had. Absolutely. Any points? Any standout points for you? I didn't pretty much said all my standout parts. So
anything else?
Yeah, from your end, as the one who done the overview.
Well, we just we get a lot of King's Landing. We get it through Catelyn's eyes. We get her being played mercilessly.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, by both Varys and Baelish, and she pretty well walked right into that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like he kind of mocks her, like really, Catelyn starts a whole bunch of shit. She should have stayed at home.
Oh yeah, I mean, she not only gets played, by Littlefinger and Varys, but I think she kind of gets played by Moreo too.
Yeah.
I mean, Moreo is just as sly and sneaky as the two of them were.
Excuse me for a minute. I think one of my cats is trapped somewhere.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, but I mean, as I was saying, the Moreo, with his all smiles, I mean, he could easily, in my opinion, could have passed as Illyrio Mopatis. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was Illyrio Mopatis. I mean, the forked green beard, really stood out for me because who would have that? Who would have that perfectly so like that? I she just got played by everybody pretty much.
She
We
does.
don't know, we don't know what happened to her protector, Sir Roderick. What happened to him? They say that he wasn't hurt, and I know that he wasn't hurt, but where is he though? What's been happened to him? And they say that he's just back, at the tavern where they were. But I'm surprised that he never went out looking for her. If he knows that she is not there and not safe, why isn't he looking for her? What's going on here? Why is she alone in this room with these two men? You know, why did not what's his name, Roderick, not see the gold cloaks coming up to her room? Where is he? What happened to him? And I know that he isn't hurt, but what happened to him anyway? I know that, I mean, of course he lives. We all know that he's still alive and he's going to live up until he gets back to Winterfell where Theon kills him. But where is he now? Why is she alone with these two men? What's going on here?
I think he doesn't go off because he doesn't really know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And just leaves it at that. Though he must not have seen the gold cloaks take her. They would have still had their informants watching him as well. So they probably timed it perfectly to where nobody would shadow her. Mm-hmm. Because if he would have seen her being, hustled off, he probably would have tried to do something, and that would have started even more commotion, or what that would have went bad. Mm-hmm. Probably.
Hit that like button, guys, and if you have any questions, please post them in the chat now. We're here to answer them as best we can. Yeah, we are discussing Catelyn, one of the poor pawns in the Game of Thrones. She thinks she's a player, but she's just a pawn here.
Everybody thinks they're a player.
Yeah, everyone thinks they're a player in this, but they're nothing but pawns.
That's what's so crazy. That's what's crazy too. Is everybody thinks they're a player, but almost everybody is a pawn.
Yeah.
And then, the characters who do the most, like Sandor Clegane, he realizes, I've been being played this whole time. No more, and kind of goes off on his own. But most people, poor dears, they never even realize that they're just being played before they die or whatever, or till the very end, till it's too late. But everybody thinks they're a player, and there are very few real players. Mm-hmm. Most everybody else is just a pawn.
Oh yeah, Varys is a player. Baelish is a player. Who else is a player besides those two? Who else? I mean, is there anyone else? Illyrio was a player, and Dany, she came close. She's kind of close to being a player.
Yeah.
But she's not quite there yet.
She's not quite there yet, but she's trying. She's trying.
Yeah. Tyrion is a player as well.
Yeah, Tyrion's a player.
Tywin is a player too. So that's 4.
AU Pack Mule says Survivor is the same way. It surely is. It surely is. Everybody on that show thinks they're going to win, thinks they're doing, till they just don't even see the being voted off coming. Yeah, I watch that sometimes. I don't watch it diligently, but I get a kick out of it.
Varys, Tyrion, Tywin, Peter Baelish. Anybody else? Can we get 5?
I think that's probably a universal fault, though, to think that you are more clever than you are for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as the show goes, yeah, I do want to make a point, about the television show. It's pretty much the same in the show, except they bring her into a brothel instead of the Red Keep itself.
Right.
And I don't know. I think they did that to have Catelyn be more angry at Peter, for bringing her into a brothel. But compared to the book and the show, I just thought that the book was better. I mean, why? It just felt like they were just trying to amp up something, amp up the confrontation and the static between Peter Baelish and Catelyn Tully. But I mean, it was
Yeah.
really no point to that. I mean, they could have had her, have be a little bit outraged for being summoned, but it just felt like a little bit of unnecessary drama there. You could have just took her anywhere. They could have took her into a hotel or into the. It just didn't matter. It was just unnecessary drama to keep the tension high. But it was pretty much the same as it was in the books, with the exception of her sea travel.
I was just fixing to say that, Alicia. Alicia says, okay, first of all, AU says that he I guess he considers Cersei and Lady Olenna players.
Yeah, Lady Olenna.
Lady Olenna definitely. Cersei, in my opinion, she teeters right there on the edge. But I definitely agree with this, what Alicia says. Arya, Bran, and Rickon have Tully blood, but they are 100% Stark. Blackfish is the only one who truly remembered his words in the book and show, family, duty, honor. And I was just fixing to say this when Alicia typed it. Hated how they did Blackfish in the end on this show.
Oh,
Me
yeah.
too. I thought that was a huge disservice to his character and to his ability. And all I can say for that is I think they just ended him like that because at that time he was on that show Outlander. And I really think maybe they would have done him better if he hadn't had scheduling conflicts or whatever. Maybe not. I guess we'll never really know. But I hated the way he ended in the show because he had been nothing but loyal to his nieces the entire time of the show, serving Lysa at the Black Gate, or the Bloody Gate, I mean.
And then to just leave. Yeah,
then also following Rob. And I didn't understand that. I would have thought that he would have went to Sansa.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And hope to fight another day.
Yeah, I mean, and I, as far as my analysis goes, check out my analysis if y'all haven't seen it. Check it out. Sansa in the Winds of Winter. I think he may end up going back, to the Vale at one point, or either he may run up on Lady Stoneheart or something like that. But I can't just believe that he would just leave Sansa in the lurch like this. I mean,
right.
he had to have known the treachery of the Boltons. He knew that. He knew firsthand how the Boltons were. So to just leave Sansa in the fight of her life. I mean, they showed Peter Baelish more loyal to Sansa than the Blackfish. At least Peter Baelish brought his army. For whatever reason he did it. He got his army there and helped Sansa get the victory. I can't believe that
Blackfish left her like that.
Yeah, left her like that. Thank you. I need some water, guys.
I didn't, in my mind, I didn't see it playing out like that at all. Over River Run. He never expected River Run to be his. And I understand kind of his point of like, this is my home. I'm ready to fight and die for it. Like, I get all that, but why not just live to fight another day? Why not go help Sansa? I mean, River Run's not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And with Sansa, probably could have got River Run back.
Exactly.
Probably could have got everything. Probably could have got Edmure back. I mean, the show is just a mess in places.
That's where they get on my nerves with the show. Is like I just didn't see that as how he would have played it at all. After all, family is the first, out of his code, so to speak. And I think they did a huge disservice to him in the show. Okay, Misha popped away for a moment. How's everybody doing tonight? It is cold here. It turned to cold here.
Oh yes, it's like 30 degrees
Yeah.
here. Oh, it's miserable.
It
I
might. They
hate it.
said it might even freeze over here,
Mhm.
which is highly unusual. But I got my plants in.
Yeah, we're discussing Catelyn tonight. Any questions, please put them in the
Or
chat so we can
statement,
answer them.
statements, thoughts. Greatly
Hmm.
appreciated.
Yeah, it's a very interesting chapter, though it's not a lot of action, but very, very informative, just as Jennifer said. Let's see. Let me see if I can find another point that stood out here. Varys himself. He comes in, he wore a vest of golden thread, loose gown of purple silk, and on his feet were pointed slippers of soft velvet. Now that outfit that he's wearing seems kind of hot. Now in King's Landing, they're still in the summertime. So why is he wearing this heavy gown of silk? Silk is hot. If you've ever worn silk, it's very hot. So it seems to me that outfit that he's wearing is not so much for comfort, but for as some sort of decoration, some maybe even a costume. It points to me saying that he's not really wearing this because he really wants to wear it. It's just the get up that he has to wear. It seems to me like it's a very uncomfortable outfit that he's wearing and a very hot outfit, especially in the summertime. So it seems to me that he's just wearing a costume. And when we go further into the Tyrion chapters in the Clash of Kings, we go into his backstory.
You
And
think it could be just a show of wealth
yeah,
because
it's just a
she's
show.
fixing to have dealings with a great lady. And we know
Hmm.
Varys is always a little bit insecure about his birth, or either he puts on that he is.
Yeah, this is nothing but an outfit, a costume that he's wearing, which really shows me that he's not a very genuine person. He's not genuine at all. I also want to make a comment about Peter's comment about about Varys being a eunuch. It really shows that he, doesn't have much respect for mutilated people, but he is also mutilated as well because he has the scar upon his chest from his collar to his navel. So it seems to me that seeing as you have a problem with mutilated people, you have a problem with yourself as well. I mean, it only points out that if you can talk about this man being scarred and how shady and untrustworthy he is, you probably think that of yourself.
A lot of times, what the faults we see in other people are the faults we hate the most within ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely points to that. Alicia's got a good Q&A.
Yeah. The first question she asked is, "What do you think Lady Stoneheart's end will be?" As far as the book goes, and the book is all we pretty much have, I think that Brienne is going to end her. I think Brienne is going, it's going to be some sort of altercation between Jamie, Brienne, the Brotherhood Without Banners, and Lady Stoneheart. And I think that Brienne is going to put an end to Catelyn or whatever's left of Catelyn. Uh, that's my opinion. What's your opinion, Jennifer?
Um, when we end in the books with that, it's with Brienne and Podrick being hanged, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Lady Stoneheart wants Brienne to take her to Jamie,
Yeah, and at the
and
end
she
of
knows she
feast.
can get her to him.
Yeah, the feast. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say Jamie's gonna somehow get her.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't, I don't honestly see Jamie Lannister dying in the Winds of Winter, and
I don't either.
I don't see him dying not there. So if there is a Jamie or Brienne chapter in the Winds of Winter. I think they're going to get out of it. I think Brienne and Jaime are going to get out of this alive, and whatever's left of Lady Stoneheart will be destroyed. That's pretty much my thing. Uh, Another question: do you think there's a chance that Arya or Sansa crossing paths with Lady Stoneheart? Well, Sansa is much closer in geography to um, she's much closer in geography to Lady Stoneheart than Arya is. Arya is across the narrow sea right now, and I think she's going to be over there for a while. But and this is my theory. Check out my videos. I think Sansa may be smuggled away from the Vale by a few people, and I think she may run up into other people, but she may run into the clans. She may run into the Sandor Clegane as the grave digger or something like that. But I think she might. There is a chance. There's a chance she might cross paths. Sansa might, but I don't think Arya ever will. She's across the narrow sea, and I don't see her, getting in. Getting
right. I just don't see
paths.
it going that far. If I'm not mistaken, we're at a chapter where Brienne. I think George R. Martin answered that. Because it leaves off with you not being able to understand what Brienne says.
Mm-hmm. But I mean,
she yells out that she'll do it, not because she wants to, but because she feels such remorse for having gotten Pod into the situation, knowing that he doesn't deserve this.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a reckoning with Lady Stoneheart and Brienne and all of them. And I'm going to say somehow Jaime Lannister is going to be the one to kill her, just simply for the fact that because at one time, Brienne was pledged to Catelyn, but I mean, not to say it would be wrong for Brienne to kill her. I mean, I think it could go either way, but I'm just gonna as much a guess as logic say that Jaime does it. But I couldn't say for sure, but I think that's all going to culminate. I don't think she's going to get much further than this culmination of events of when they do get brought together.
Mm-hmm.
It would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be good to
see Sansa run. It would be awesome to see Sansa be the one to put this thing out of its misery. Because let's just be real, that's no longer her mother.
Yes, Catelyn's dead.
And it would be awesome to see Sansa grow a pair and do something with some real, meaning behind it like that. But I think that's wishful thinking on my part.
Yeah. I mean, Sansa in the book, is on her own path. Not, and it's not going to be anything like they're doing in the show. I just don't see Sansa in that. But it doesn't mean that she won't have power of her own. I think her power will be not so much in ordering people's deaths, but in the political game.
Right.
I think that's why they put her with Peter Baelish, because I think her political game is going to be strong. I think that's where her gifts would lie. I think she could be a great politician.
I think so as well. And I hope, like where we're in the books with Sansa, and it's kind of obvious to me that people are trying to hurt her little cousin, and I hope that she does everything in her power to not let him be hurt. I don't want her to be one of the ones to be conspirating in Robin's demise. He puts a lot of faith in her and a lot of store in her since he's lost his mother. And I hope that Sansa does. I think we'll know which way Sansa's going majorly by the way she handles the Robin situation. I always have thought that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be wiser for Sansa to have Robin live, because Robin is her cousin.
Yeah, I agree.
Her first cousin, and they are bonded, through blood.
It would not only be wiser, it would be the right thing to do. And that's why I just want to see Sansa, I don't want to see her become the next Cersei, so to speak, looking out on herself. I want her to look out on her family. On the same token, though, I understand she's just trying to survive at this point. But I hope she doesn't morph into a bad, one of the more darker gray characters. I want her to kind of, be somebody who stands on the good or right.
Yeah.
Um,
She certainly can. They are grooming her for that in the books.
I
I
hope so.
mean, they have, kind of distorted her character a lot in the
They
show.
have all of the
And
characters.
it just took away from her, even though they wanted to make her strong for the show and for the fans, but they mangled her character so much, and it's like, ugh, whatever,
Most definitely.
That's how I feel when I look at Sansa now. I mean, I appreciated the story, the book Sansa way more. I mean, it just feels like it comes from a natural place. It's
Mm-hmm.
just so natural. It's a natural progression for her in the books than it is in the
Yeah.
story. I mean,
In the books, Sansa's done got more woke, to
yeah.
conspirators and evildoers and
Mhm.
whatever. But to me, at this point, she has not yet crossed over to the side of actually doing bad, to be kind of bad, or to be on the side of bad. And I hope that she doesn't. But we're getting so skewed that I
Yeah.
can't say. But except for that, I am so looking forward to the next book. And I
Oh
mean, if you
yeah.
had to ask me, would I rather see the rest of the show tomorrow or get the Winds of Winter in its entirety? I would definitely say I'd rather have the book, and have been
Absolutely.
saying that for several years now, because
Hmm.
I'm more of a book enthusiast. I do love the show, but I, after a certain number of seasons, they just kind of started splitting off into two separate entities, and I
Yeah.
enjoy the books for their purity more so than the TV show.
Oh yeah.
Alicia
Absolutely.
says that she thinks we will get Arya bumping into Lady Stoneheart by her warging Nymeria. You could be right. That would be
Hmm.
fabulous. What would be fabulous is if that happened and Nymeria's the one to kill her, like rip out her throat or something. That would be awesome in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I
you
don't
just
see.
never know. Anything I say or have an opinion on, pure speculation and sometimes wishful thinking.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is a very good point that you point out, Alicia.
And
It's
Nymeria
funny
is
how,
more over there by her. I think
yeah.
Nymeria is closer to her than either one of the actual Stark girls in
Hmm.
person.
Oh yeah,
In person.
Nymeria. Yeah, she goes very much into Nymeria a lot.
Yeah. And we've
So I mean,
seen
she's
this.
been, yeah, pulling her out of the river. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Nymeria is the closest, and she's probably the window into what's going on.
And
As
and
far as
and
Lady Stoneheart
Nymeria,
goes.
it would make sense for her to do it because she's the one who rescued her, so to speak, to begin with.
Hmm.
So to see that she's actually kind of become very skewed and doing the wrong thing, so for Nymeria to kind of round that out by taking her out after she kind of rescued her, I think there would be a nice ending to that storyline.
Hmm.
And I'd like to see Nymeria. I'd like to see Arya Ward
Yeah, I mean,
into
yeah,
something. Yeah,
right.
I would
They
like to see
never.
that. I wouldn't be at all like disappointed in that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they
See
should
real
at
quick.
least
I gotta
touch
have it.
on it a little bit, but they didn't in the show. They did not touch on what's the name, Arya and John being wargs. Why did they not do that? They could have at least given him a dream or given her a dream or something, just something. And they just did not touch upon that subject at
Yeah,
all.
and they
It's a
should have
shame.
just to show. And that makes me wonder, like, is the TV show not going to touch upon the fact that all the other, aside from John and Bran, all the Stark kids have
Hmm.
a bit of abilities.
Hmm.
Um, even Sansa, though, is much slighter. Um,
Mm. Sansa.
it's,
I don't.
Alicia Kingston says, uh, that's one of the reasons I think Arya is the second most powerful warg skin changer after Bran of all the Stark kids. I agree. Arya can warg over saltwater, the narrow sea. Well, the narrow sea, which is saltwater. I agree because in witchcraft, white magic here, people. Okay, I believe in God, Jesus Christ. I'm not saying I'm a witch. But salt is definitely something you use as kind of a boundary or a purification, and therefore to be able to do anything over a salt barrier. with what you would consider magic or magic skills or anything like that would be somebody who was very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Bran obviously can walk past the salt barrier, the salt water. He saw, in the previous chapter, he saw across Danny, in the narrow sea and all the way to the Dothraki plains. So I mean, yeah, apparently you can walk across salt water. Bran has done it, and now Arya is doing it. Uh, I don't know anything about what's going on with Rickon, and I don't believe Sansa. To be honest with you, I don't believe Sansa has any warding abilities.
I think she
Not
does.
that
I
she
think
doesn't.
birds, but then we get a little bit. Everybody calls her little bird, little bird. We see around a bunch of birds in the Eyrie, but then we get in that prologue of how birds are kind of scatterbrained, so to speak, and it's dangerous to ward birds. In the Vermeer chapter in that prologue. Do you remember what I'm talking about now?
Yeah,
he talks a little bit on warging birds and says why it's not one of his preferred modus operandi. Why it's not one of his preferred creature animals to ward. I believe he talks about warging maybe and we get that, we get that people who what's that how John's eyes get scratched up and stuff.
Let me see what's next. The John chapter. Okay. Before we carry on, I'm going to be doing the John chapter next week, and that's another warg that has not found his power just yet, but I think he will. I think he will after his death. If they bring him back, I think he's going to come back a warg. So yeah, I'll be doing the John chapter next week.
Alicia's making some good points. Interesting thought and off topic. When Bran is in his dream and he's falling, he can see all of his family except Rickon. Do you know why? Rickon was in the crypts a lot while Bran was recovering. Them crypts are magic. 100% those crypts are magic. There's something to those crypts. There's, I think maybe even just being down there gives you a spidey sense, if you will, or just some kind of keys you in. I don't want to say wormhole but maybe kind of a bit of a door or a gateway, or not saying you leave and go somewhere else, but just they key you into any kind of ability that you already have, or possibly block somebody from keying into you or sits in you. And
yeah, I think it's possible. I'm not really a big aficionado on the crypts, but I do think that it is a sacred mystical place. I do think it has its own mystical energy.
Yeah, there's something going down. I don't, have any theories on it or anything like that, but there's something going down with those crypts. Whether it's just they're sacred or, sanctified ground or whatever, that there's something to the crypts. Is there something down there? Maybe there is. Maybe they're just sacred, and protect you or allow you to be protected in some kind of way. Yeah, I think they are. I think Winterfell, the Wall, and Storm's End, and the Citadel, that's all I think that was all made by Bran the Builder, and he had spells, woven in by the children of the forest or whatever he needed to do when he built those things. And so those things are extra special places. I'll be right back. My dryer keeps going off, and it's like, and it's like, okay, somebody just opened the door already, so it'll stop dinging.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna send you the Gmail. Not sure. I'm gonna get that later on. Okay. Yeah. We're discussing Catelyn. And anything else? Are there any more questions? Are there any more questions? And who built Winterfell's walls and Storm's End? Bran the Builder. Yeah, Bran the Builder was a very busy man. No doubt about it. The Starks, have such a rich history, and I said this last week. It's a shame that they are being treated so shabbily. But there's so much history in the Stark family, so much accomplishment there. I mean, and it's a shame that they are completely and totally mistreated by the Lannisters, who are nothing but liars and tricksters and incestuous people. And it's just sad, to see such a proud and noble family that went on for 1,000 years just be delegated and derogated to hostages and just people to be used in
Who are y'all talking about?
games. The Stark family, as a whole.
Right. Okay.
And it's a shame to see such a family with such accomplishments and such, history and such a richness and so lush, just to be derogated, to be killed off, to be mutilated like Robb was, and to be, perverted like Catelyn was, bringing her back as Stoneheart and Sansa being
like nobody would want to come back like that.
And then there's Arya, who is completely off of the rails mentally and emotionally. And then we have, the only person that's really living up to the legacy of the Starks is Bran. He's a powerful character. And and he's really the only one that's carrying on this powerful tradition in the Stark family, even though he was pushed out of the window and can't walk. It's just.
And it makes sense though that which we were talking about earlier though. Usually salt, is not a conduit of magic, so to speak, but brick can be. For sure. So I definitely think, those spells are going to come into play that we've heard that Bran the Builder had them woven into Storm's End and Winterfell and all the places that it says that he did something that's going to come into play somehow. I don't know how. I don't have a theory on it, but there's 100% something to that.
It's just another chapter, another Catelyn chapter, very influential, but she makes so many mistakes along the way. And she just runs wild and she listens to the wrong people. And she ends up getting a lot of people hurt, a lot of people killed, a lot of death, a lot of needless deaths, the destruction of her homeland, all because of her and her terrible, foolish decision-making skills, and it's just very, very sad to see, what's going to happen to her later on because of her actions,
I got these bag of Christmas M&Ms at the CVS for $2. Love an after Christmas markdown.
Oh yeah, everything is cheap after Christmas.
Yeah, and look, how could there be anything wrong with these M&Ms? You know what I mean? They're just for December.
Hey, did you get the message that I sent you, Jennifer? The quiet message that I sent you. But as far as Catelyn goes, it's a very, informative chapter, not a lot of action, but it really is informative nevertheless. If Catelyn would have done what Ned told her to do, a lot of the North would have been saved. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. It makes you want to just shake her and go, do what you're told, girl. Do what you were told. Ned might not, be a cunning manipulator, but he does have good sense. And I think the safest place Catelyn would have been to stay at Winterfell. And, she was basically left in charge. So, I mean, I know she was letting Rob kind of step in and start to make his own decisions and play a role in leadership of Winterfell, but still, she was there to make sure nothing severe and, to be the voice of good reason and good sense. And she gave up all of that to do that and left a lot of holes everywhere and caused a bunch of just stirred up a bunch of shit. And I think things would have went much differently if she would have just done as she was bid to do and have stayed in Winterfell. But that's not our story.
No, so absolutely, it wouldn't be our story.
Right,
it would be too much like right.
I mean, imagine what the story would be if we didn't have all of Catelyn's mistakes.
True. Mrs. Nacho. Okay.
So
hold it down for me, Jennifer, for a minute. I'm trying to send you something.
Oh, sure.
In the mail. Oh, the thing is too large. Try sharing it on. Do you have OneDrive, Jennifer?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I don't do any fancy stuff, and my Norton subscription ran out last month. I need to pay and get that back because it's always good to have that Norton on there. And then when you get it, it also goes on any other device you have. Because it was on my phone as well, which is good. So, usually when I don't have it, like way too many pop-ups and things just disturb anything I'm trying to do. So I have to have it, but I like to take it to the computer shop and get them to install it instead of me doing it.
Okay. Oh, well, just click on that link I gave you.
Okie doke.
That's the best thing I can give you. I can't send it through the email. Now as far as Catelyn goes, it's just it's not a very eventful chapter. Alicia says it was boring, and I don't think it was that boring, Alicia. I don't know about that, but it was a lot. It did have a lot of information about a lot of different things. Valyrian Steel.
Yeah.
Peter Baelish and his upbringing and her upbringing, and Varys and how he is, and the Targaryens and what's going on there, how the people are, and the Tyroshi people. And they showed a lot of King's Landing, and they talk a little bit about the Dragon Pit, and a little bit of touch on Liza.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not a very hectic chapter, but it is a lot here. So I have to kind of disagree with you, Alicia. It's not as boring as you think it is. Are there any questions or if this is the last time I'm going to ask this, if there are any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat and we can answer them. Do you have any comments? Jennifer, anything else that stood out for you?
No, I covered everything that I thought was pertinent. I think we need to look out on that ship, Storm Dancer. I think it's also meant to show that there's major conflicts coming. One could even say that it points to a major conflict coming between Cersei and Robert, because like you said, it pulls up right next to that description of what is seemingly them. A lot of symbolism. Take note, you've been told the Tyroshi are greedy as hell. Because avarice not only means greedy, it means like super greedy. Like you're the greediest person in the whole room. Thousands. So just keep note of those things and keep note of everything else you've been told. You've been given a pretty good layout of King's Landing here in this chapter. Probably one of the most descriptive chapters of King's Landing, and probably the only one of the makeup of King's Landing before and after. I think this is the first mention we get of what King's Landing might have been like before the conquest. How it was, kind of desolate, where there now is a huge castle or stronghold, and a city, a thriving city, a dirty city, a city of commerce.
Well, they talk a little bit about Aaron Santagar. Aaron Santagar
Okay, well, let's talk about that now. The Santa Guards, that's an island over there off Dragonstone, right?
The Santa, I thought the Santa guards were Dornish. Let me take a second and look it
Yeah,
up.
let's peek at that real quick.
Yeah, let me look at it. Let me see what.
Let's take a peek at that real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And he also says about him, what is it? How does Sir Roderick describe him? As an honest man, but a vain one?
Mm-hmm. Let me try and find him.
Okay, I was thinking the Santa Guards were over there off the one of those like Tarth, like I could be wrong. I'm trying to do all this by memory, but I had thought they were one of those little islands over there.
No, no, I think it's in Dorne. I think the
Okay, I think it's important to take note of that.
Aaron Santiago. Where is he?
We don't get these outlying people in position too much.
Yeah, yeah. He is a part of House Santagar, and he is Dornish.
Oh, okay.
Dornish. He's from Dorne. He is, according to Roger Cassell, Aaron is a vain but honest man. And that kind of sounds a little bit like the Dornish. I mean,
it does. It does.
They're good folks, but they have their pride as well. And yeah, that sounds a whole lot like the Dornish. They're vain.
Good. I'm glad we went over that because I was thinking it was not where it was.
Yeah, see, the Dornish people are a very open and freer type of people than the other kingdoms of the continent of Westeros, and that sounds about right.
They are scorned, but they kind of scorn. They kind of scorn the the tight-fisted, the tight society of the mainland Westerosi. Yeah, I agree, Alicia. Alicia says, I think most of the kingdoms hate on Dorne just because the Dorne were able to resist the Targaryens when no one else could. I agree. And the Dornish have as much scorn for mainland Westerosi than they do for them, if truth be told. And they eat different things, they have different fashions, they have a different way of fighting.
Yeah, they are fighters. Aaron Santagar is a knight, and he participates in the hands tourney.
Okay, I think it's good to take note of that. Maybe that'll come back into play later. Maybe somebody will want to know what went down in this auspicious meeting, and Aaron Santagar will be the key to that.
Yeah, absolutely. They say when Lady Catelyn Stark and Sir Roger Cassell go to King's Landing in search of the owner of the Valyrian steel dagger used by the Catspaw, who attempted to kill Bran Stark, Roderick visits Aaron Santagar, who is the master at arms of the Red Keep, who may recognize it. I don't know whether he recognized that blade or not, but if it did belong to one of the royal family, he should have been able to recognize it.
Yeah, he should have been.
Yeah, she should have waited until she got word from Aaron Santagar before she drew any kind of conclusion. Because Littlefinger said it was Tyrion's dagger.
And we hear nothing else about this. We don't hear his opinion on it. And he would have known. He would have been charged, especially with carrying of the most valuable blades and weapons. And that would have been considered up there among them. So the fact that she doesn't even, it's like she just throws anything that Sir Roderick is going to say or that he's discovered to the wind and go with this very shady clandestine meeting.
Yeah, she should have consulted with him first, because if it truly was Tyrion's dagger, he would have recognized the dagger. Yeah, absolutely, and she did not consult with him at all. She went straight along.
As master of arms,
yeah,
he would probably take note of anybody who had a fine piece of steel
like that. Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. It's a hey. I mean, you figure that's what I love about this book. You find new stuff out every day, new opinions, every time you read this, you see it from a different point of view. And
you do.
And Aaron Santagar just popped into my head, and I was like, maybe we ought to talk about this guy. And come to find out, he has just brought a whole new vision, a whole new scenario, a whole new vision into this that I didn't even see before. So hey, cool. That's a thumbs up for our stream for figuring that part out.
Yep.
So yeah, apparently she just goes on with Littlefinger
and we never hear what he had to say at all.
And didn't even listen to him. Did not even listen to him. I mean, it's what can you say about Catelyn and her mistake? She made a big mistake just right there by not even listening to anyone else's point of view. He would have recognized it if it was Tyrion's.
He would have. I imagine he probably knows anybody who has a really notable weapon in the court.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I see anything else. I probably see something else.
I think we covered everything that I
think we did.
Think of that might have been something to look out on or something of note. But I just thought that because, like, you don't hear about a lot of, especially, the Dornish nobles, or even like I had made the mistake of thinking it was one of the islands around Dragonstone. But even of them, you don't really hear too much, about them. So I think it's important to take note when you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's true. There was one last thing, and that's Brandon Stark. In regards to that duel. Why? I mean, she apparently begs Brandon to spare Peter's life. But why did he leave him with that scar? I have to wonder.
He left him with that scar on purpose to be Brandon was arrogant, and he left him with that scar to let him remember. And I think it does. And I think we even hear Baelish talk about it. Like he'll never forget.
Yeah, of course. I would have loved to have seen the scar before they killed him off, but the infamous scar that meant so much, but I guess you can't see it because of the people on the show were so in such a rush to kill them all.
Something relatively easy to include in. Well, I tell you what, me, you, and Alicia should write a script for this. Send it to them. We could put our three heads together and be like, oh, include this in there. And oh yeah, I'm sure, I wonder just how many people, I bet you they've got a few scripts people have sent them. I wouldn't be surprised at all by that.
Money is in the house. Hey, Money, what's up?
Hey, girl.
We thank you so much, Alicia. Great stream, ladies. Appreciate y'all taking the time to do this. Yes, it's no problem. If I can just remember to get up here, I can get it back.
Yeah, thank you, Alicia. That's greatly appreciated. Look, I knew you had I told Russell, I said, she works hard all week and then she does all her catch up. And I said, I know what happened. Either she just got sidetracked or she fell asleep or whatever. We'll probably do it tomorrow. And he was just like, well, that's good because it's going to be so cold. We're definitely not going anywhere.
Yeah. How is Russell doing?
He's good. He went in the back to watch the Pelicans game and hasn't come back out here.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, Russell, if you watch this later, how you doing? It's Misha. Hope you're having a good time on your end. But I mean, I really, wanted to see a little bit more of Brandon. Is he really so different from Ned? Because I can't imagine Ned, leaving a scar on someone like that, no matter who they were. He would rather kill the person or, just let him walk away free and clear. But to leave a scar on his chest like that, something that almost kills him.
Very arrogant.
It's a very,
very arrogant thing to do.
Un-Stark-like thing, something arrogant, something that someone with a touch of cruelty in him would do. And maybe it was a good thing that Brandon died because I think she would have been unhappy in that marriage with Brandon.
Think so too. I think it would have been unfaithful, which is something I don't think she could have countenanced.
Yeah, I mean, the only way
she would have ended up crazy as Lysa.
Yeah,
She had to
exactly.
be with
Yeah.
somebody who wasn't true to her.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that
It,
seems to be kind of a theme with those two. And even though I know, like his husband, John Aaron, he wasn't a cheater or anything, she didn't really consider him a very good catch.
Alicia has a comment. She says the only reason Brandon left Baelish with that scar is because Catelyn asked him to.
Oh, really?
I mean, I don't think she asked for him to leave him a scar. She asked to spare his life. It's
Yeah.
written right here. I had to beg Brandon to spare Peter's life. She did not want Peter to die, but I don't
Right.
think she wanted him to be scarred either. I have to
He
disagree
might have
with
would
you
have
on
killed
that,
him.
Alicia.
And
Yeah,
apparently he would have been within his rights to do so, but
yeah,
she begged him for his life, and then he had to turn around and leave that scar,
yeah. I
which is
think the
just, very telling of his character.
yeah. I don't think that it was her idea to just put a horrible scar on him. I don't think
Yeah,
that
she
because I
definitely
mean,
asked him to, she begged him.
yeah, she
She doesn't
begged for
have,
his
she
life.
begged him.
Yeah, she had a love for Peter, a brother and sister
Brotherly
type of
love.
love, but she had love for him all the same. Not to have him just wounded like this. I mean, it just seems to me that that scar was something Brandon did. And if Brandon would leave a scar on a 15-year-old boy, trying to fight for his first love, what
And they
kind of
downplayed it.
scars?
It
Yeah,
wasn't just a scar. A scar is cutting somebody's cheek a little bit or whatever.
yeah.
He opened him from sternum to belly button.
Yeah, he almost eviscerated him in that. And I don't see something that Catelyn would want for him.
Oh,
No,
well,
almost.
and Alicia, don't you believe that Rob is Brandon's kid? Is that what you believe? And I think that's very possible that he is.
Well, yeah, Alicia says Brandon may have already left that scar on him before Catelyn intervened. I mean, maybe that's true. I'm not sure. But
Right.
as far as you think that Brandon is Rob's, Rob is Brandon's son? That's what you're saying?
I think that's what she believes. Alicia, will you clear that up for me? She has a whole thing behind that, but I mean, I guess he could be. I don't. Do you think they did it before? Okay, Bartube's theory about Rob being Brandon's kid. I don't believe I've seen that or whatever, but I mean, I know this. Brandon was very skilled at getting ladies to
Yeah.
do whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So I
yeah.
don't really think it's out of the realm of possibility. Especially if they had been publicly engaged for quite a time to get her to sleep with him. I mean, he was a silver-tongued devil, so to speak.
Yeah, he was sleeping with Barbara Dustin.
Yeah, I mean, he was a
And probably
player,
knows who else. Yeah, he
straight
was a
up.
player. God only knows who else,
You like to see blood on his sword. And,
I mean,
yeah, and I think that's not only he likes to see blood on his sword, but he likes to see blood on his man sword or whatever. Yeah. Which is just so arrogant. And that's the best adjective I can use to probably describe the difference between Ned and Brandon. But I guess, you grow up as the heir to, thought of as the largest territory or whatever, and he definitely had the swagger that one would expect the firstborn son to have.
Yeah.
No matter how distasteful it is, it really probably is not misplaced, so to speak. I mean, I guess you actually, to get on in this world, you should have a bit of swagger and whatever. And he definitely had that. It's almost like Ned definitely shows on more than one occasion that he was raised to be the second son. I think that doesn't serve him at all, but it is what it is, and it turned out the way it turned out. But it's almost as though you get a little hint, that Ned was raised to be a second son, and he acts like it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not what I'm saying. You know, if anything, is kind of pleasing to me that he's not quite so I am Lord, you know, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think she ended up way happier than she would have with Brandon. In fact, I don't think she would have been happy.
No, I don't think she would have been as happy as she thought either, especially with Barbara Dustin. I mean, she's a member of the North. She probably would have ran into her at one point. You know, that probably would have been a mess there. And
Okay,
it
I
seemed
haven't
to me
noticed
he
that,
had a
Alicia,
cruelty in him.
but that's a great catch. Alicia Kingston says, when Catelyn talks about her kids, she always references Ned by name, except for when it comes to Rob, and she says his father. And if I haven't noticed it, but I believe you when you say it. So if that's the way it is in the books, that brings me back to the thought that Ned always, you know, references John in kind of a different way than his own children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that makes me think of. So that could have been, you know, a slight hint intended. The fact that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We're never
I
really
haven't
gonna
noticed
know
it personally, but that doesn't mean I don't believe. I mean, I believe you if you say so. But yeah, but definitely, you know, like when Ned is always talking about John, like I always notice that, like the way he refers to John is a little bit different, which cued me into the fact I had caught from a long time that, you know, back when, like, I never thought that, like I caught that, you know, I've always thought that it was Rhaegar and Lyanna who was John's parents. I still do think that. I don't hold with the Chardane theory, me, but yeah, I mean that could be a clue that Rob is Brandon's. The fact that she refers to him kind of a little bit different than her other children. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. I just have never maybe I have seen some theories on it. I just ever since we've kind of been I've kind of been doing my own thing, I try not to let myself get overwhelmed with other people's videos so that I won't be prejudiced. Because I used to watch all of them, and I used to just get overwhelmed with A Song of Ice and Fire information.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't really. I like to look at other people's videos, but some of those theories are just stupid to me. Some of them, and I'm not naming anyone's name.
Russell on me big time for watch. Or used to. I used to turn my smart TV on and just let, you know, all of them roll out. I did watch Teflon's theory about the end of Jamie the other day, though.
Oh, no, I haven't watched that one yet.
I watched it. I liked it. And want to say happy birthday to Tony Teflon. It was his birthday this past week, so I hope he had a great birthday.
Oh, that's great. Happy birthday, Tony Teflon. I've always been a fan of his channel.
Mm-hmm. I'm a fan of a lot of people's channel. That's not to say I watch every single video, and it's just because my mind is overloaded. I have to keep myself in perspective. I like BarTube. I like Raw Rest.
Yeah, I like Raw too. I like her too.
Yeah. I like a lot of, you know, I like a lot of them, even if I don't necessarily agree with them. The time and effort it takes to write a theory and to research it and to make a video, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah. And I mean, kudos to anybody who takes the time to do it and whatnot, you know, kudos to that. And I've enjoyed many of them. I just kind of hold myself off from watching too many because I don't want to get overloaded because my brain can only take so much. But I did
Mm-hmm.
win Jeopardy tonight against my husband.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Are there any points that you've found in the chapter? If not, we can shut it
All that
down.
I wanted to go over, and as far as like, okay, pay attention to this, keep this in perspective, or whatever. I love LaDonna and James also. I know who you're talking about, Comic Book Girl. Love her. Emergency Awesome. Um, so many people, too many people to name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Preston Jacobs. I know Misha's a great fan of his.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so many. Val, because geek. I love her stuff. Smoke Screen.
Mm-hmm.
Ideas of Ice and Fire. I mean, so many great Game of Thrones YouTubers that used to, during a long night like this, if I was really feeling a hankering, feeling like, oh, I need some Game of Thrones content, I just put my smart TV on YouTube and just let it roll and watch every theory. And I had my nephew over here painting one day, and he was just like, geez, that's a lot. I'm like, I'm not even done yet. And he was over here for several hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are some wonderful theorists out there. Absolutely, way better than I could ever be or anyone else could be.
Me
It's just
too.
been fabulous, and the way they construct the videos, you know, their cinematography and the way they put the videos together. Oh my God, it must take them forever to do that because it takes me forever to do my videos. So I have a new appreciation for them.
Exactly. I tried to make a video once. My arms started hurting. I got 1,000 excuses and no video, basically, left from that. Oh, and I'm a fan of. He just recently started doing stuff again. I think he got bullied, and it's a shame because his work was good. Sir Roger Oxford. Enjoy his readings. Enjoy the stuff he does. It's terrible that somebody would be so hateful to him. I've experienced bullying from this, but I'm not gonna let haters shut down my joy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
41 years old. I'm not in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Say what you want to.
Well, if that is all, we're gonna go ahead and shut it down
And we've got another
for
John
tonight.
next week, you guys. Really looking
Oh yeah,
forward to John.
yeah,
You got that one,
absolutely.
Misha?
Yeah, I'm gonna handle that one because I've
All
been.
right.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me a little bit of time to get back on my feet. You know how it
No
is.
problem, girl. Anything you ever
Yeah.
need or anytime you want to change it, just let me know. I mean,
Mhm.
it's fine. It's fine. I understand. And I wanted to see that Tanya Harding thing. I can't help myself. I love
Okay.
a good dateline or whatever. When Russell calls it, oh, you in here solving crime. I'm like, yes.
The whole Tanya Harding is the one who attacked Nancy Kerrigan, right? Is that
Yeah,
her?
yeah.
Okay, well, I don't think it was some big conspiracy. I think it just got to her. The stress and the pressure of trying to maintain her image and maintain, you know, the competitive spirit and do, you know, what could be done. Just like when Mike Tyson bit the man's ear, I don't think that
Right.
he did that.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I bit somebody in a fight before.
Yeah,
Okay. I
the
mean,
fight got to
I
her.
was getting my ass beat. That's all I have to
Yeah,
say about it. All right. And I
yeah,
snapped out.
yeah.
I mean,
The
don't say what
adrenaline is
you won't do
pumping.
till you getting beat in the head.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the adrenaline is pumping, and you're trying to
Right.
do your best. And I think, you know, for both of them,
And
it
you
was
have
just
so much
skill.
expectation on you.
Yeah, and I think he just grabbed it. You know, he grabbed the ear. She attacked Nancy Kerrigan. You know, because the pressure was getting to them. I think they kind of made a too
And I
much of
don't
a big
think
deal
he
about
really
that.
had anything to do with it. Her husband or her ex-husband or whatever seems super shady. I think maybe her only crime was maybe not reporting that she knew something sinister might happen, which is
Yeah,
a crime. But still, I mean, gosh. And then I imagine it was going through her head. If I do say this, people are going to look at me some kind of way. I don't know though, but I mean, but it's just terrible either way.
yeah. Well, I guess we're gonna go ahead and shut it down for tonight. I'm doing John next week. And we'll be back on Thursday. I'm going to get us here on Thursday. Thursday, Miami. Please.
Thank you, Alicia. That's very nice. I appreciate that because I really, enjoy all of your stuff. So thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, Sonny G. Thank you, Moni. Thank you, Septishana Sapphires. Thank you, anybody who popped by. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
We had somebody new in the chat I've never seen before. What was that, Tom?
Yeah, Tom himself.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Tom
Tom.
himself.
Thank you. Yeah, Tom and Cameo. Thank
And
you for
Cameo.
coming.
Yeah. Want to get everybody. Thank you so much. Even if you just
Yes.
pop by, it's much appreciated.
Yes, Alicia, AU Pagno, thank you for dropping in.
Yes,
with
thank
us.
you. Sorry about that. I don't mean to
I know you're working. Thank you for coming by.
I don't mean to leave anybody out.
Yeah, and thank you, Sunny G. Sunny G is from the Capcom Fighters Network.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Sunny, for dropping in on my Game of Thrones stream. Maybe one day I'll have a Street Fighter stream for you.
Moni G, she is doing John next week. What you talking about?
Yeah.
You messing with us? You trolling us, girl?
You wish you were doing John next week, Misha. Oh, very funny. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I will be trying to do John next week. It's been a long time since I've done one. So I think it's, my time to come on back and try to do a good overview for you guys.
Absolutely.
You want to do your outro, Jennifer?
This Jen, Lady Wolverton. Good to see everybody. Not really doing anything on my channel right now. You can catch me in this stream Thursday nights. You can friend me on Facebook, Jennifer Wolverton. I think I'm also on Twitter, like Jennifer Wolverton 1976. Sometimes I comment. Not good at keeping up. I'm old. Not good at keeping up with everything everywhere. But good to see everybody. Y'all have a great weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I am Misha Houston. Thank you all so much for joining our stream. I enjoy doing these streams every week, and I will be back Thursday, not Friday, Thursday at our regular time at 9 p.m. Central. So check us out, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
This is the end of our stream, and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye.